Welcome to the radio show. Today we have unknown chess versus SB7175. White starts with pawn to E4. Now black plays the obvious move, pawn to E5. This move from black prevents white from taking full control of the center and playing pawn to D4, pawn to 5. White plays a common move, G1 knight to F3. And black responds with pawn to F3. That isn't really a common move, but it is good. But now white responds with G2 pawn to D3, just one pawn move. But I bet unknown chess has a plan. Now black responds with D7 pawn to D6. This makes a pyramid formation supporting the E5 pawn. Very good on black. Now white responds with D3. That puts more support onto center pawn, or the E4 pawn, which is... Why do I keep messing up? Anyways, now black responds with pawn to C6. I don't know why. I don't know just why. It's just not a great move. And then white responds with bishop to G2. That puts the white king ready for castling. This is the second time in a row. Anyways, let's look at black's next move, which is pawn to B5. Although the C6 pawn is already vulnerable, this is still not a great move. Then I respond with knight to C3. This does not do anything. Literally does not, but it might do in the end game. Anyways, now black responds with bishop to B7. That puts support on C6 pawn and white castles. Good move because that puts the king in a protective spot. Now black decides to move the bishop to A6. That puts less support on the C6 pawn, but more on a pawn that doesn't need more support. Why? Just why? It isn't necessary, is it? Why? Anyways, white moves the B2 pawn to B3 and black responds with pawn to G6. Isn't that just further ruining the structure of the pawn structure? I won't ask, but anyways, white does the copies cant and move the bishop to B2, which copies the other side almost, and black responds with bishop to G7. Great, this game is going great. 600 even games are awful. White now responds with queen to D2. Why am I quiet? And black responds with knight to E7. I don't know what this does at all. No, I have no idea. This is not a good position. Now white responds with book to D2. D1. I messed up again! This is a solid position for white, but not so much for black. Anyways, black now castles. And now white responds with book to E1. I'm gonna skip a few moves ahead now, so be patient. The mic's working, right? Right? Anyways, white does this interesting move, knight to C5, attacking the bishop and probably preparing to fork the queen and rook by moving the knight to E6. It's now obviously black turn to play, and black plays bishop to H6. That attacks the queen, so the queen is basically forced to move. It cannot take the bishop because the knight is defending the bishop, so the queen moves to E2. It's now black turn to play again, so black plays knight to D7. That that opens up the bishop, so knight can now take the bishop, but a better move is forking the queen and rook. I'm probably hoping that white does that. White took the bishop, oh my god, they could have gained so much more material if they forked the queen and the rook. White gained material anyhow, but now black plays queen to a5. That traps the knight, so now they just gain their materials back. Let's see what white does. White plays bishop to f5, taking the... Oh my god! Black now takes the bishop with the pawn, which gives them the materials back, and they're gonna be equal again since the queen's gonna take the knight. Anyways, white responds with knight to h4. That is preparing to take the pawn and then going to attack the bishop. Anyways, now black moves up the pawn, which attacks the g3 pawn, and now the h4 knight have a chance to take the f5 pawn, which the knight does, attacking the bishop, but now the queen might take the knight, but then that means the knight will take the h6 bishop, gaining back the material, and that was useless, trapping the knight because you didn't gain back the material you wanted. Anyways, now white takes the bishop and checks the king, so the king is forced to move. A good move for the king is king to g7, because that attacks the knight, and the king does that. Now the knight will move to f5, because that's obviously another check, and that's the most obvious move that you can do. And that is another check. Another best move for the king is king to g6, again attacking the knight, but then the knight would do another check with knight to f4, which the knight will probably do unless they move the queen to g4, which is another check. And white is the first check that I explained. That's good for white. Now king, I don't know what he may do. He may move to g5, or he can just move back, but now the queen has a chance to attack the king by moving to h5, which is what the queen just done. Now the black king has a few choices to do, but the black king decides to move away from the check by moving to e6. I don't know if this is a good move or not, but obviously there's a bunch of more checks they can do, but the best check in this position would be what he just done. And since the king can't take the queen because the knight is guarding the queen, the king is forced away to move away again. Just skip a few moves ahead to make this broadcast shorter, because I don't want it to be too long, so good luck. This position is good for white because now white can win a rook, and that will put them up in material, put them winning, and possibly a checkmate. They blundered the queen. They blundered the queen, oh my god. White is in a rather losing position here. So, you wanna know what white does? That's right, they give a check. And they blundered the bishop. Great. And black blundered checkmate. I am never doing this again. Thank you for listening to today's radio show. Peace out.